do 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 uptown do 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 up do do do. Say what uptown do 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 uptown do 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 do. Hello, how's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? Let's get some music on. Let's get some music on. Because I feel like I'm talking into the void, which technically I am, whenever I don't have music on. There. Anyway, how is everybody? How's everybody doing? I'm feeling okay. It's the last week of work I'll be doing this year, which is good. I was good enough to save a lot of my holidays so that I could have a long break over the December time, over Christmas, over New Year. So I'm pretty happy. Generally, I'm feeling a lot better than I did last week. For the last couple of weeks, I've had a bit of like a brain fog kind of minor headache slash earache slash kind of sinusy thing that was sort of, I don't know, it was making me make so many mistakes. And I think it was, we'll talk about it a bit later when we're going through what we did last week. But generally, I think it affected a lot of what I was doing in terms of streams. And in general, I just felt like there was a lot of times where I felt like I was just not 100% there, you know? And I think that was, it really made the quality of the streams not as good. I think the Baldur's Gate one was okay, but other than that one, I'd say that generally the streams last week were not that good. Oh, hello. Very nice to meet you. Generally everything's good. Feeling like it's great. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, really? Oh, that's good. I'm glad that posting stuff on X is. Oh, thank you for the follow. Posting stuff on X is actually starting to get some traction. Yeah, that's my X. Yeah. Yeah, I will do that after the stream. I've had a couple of people come in and say this stuff, and I always go and do it after stream. So I'll get onto that, but I have to wait until after the stream. I like to keep the stream contained. So it'll probably be in about 2.5 hours that I'll follow back. But yeah, I will. Don't worry about it. Do 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 do. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, generally last week's streams weren't the best. They were a bit scuffed, but I think generally I'm going to be a bit better this time. I mean, I can't have any promises. I mean, the first stream I did on Monday, it was less of a scuffed because of my brain sort of fogging and the illness, and more just that I'm not used to being able to talking to chat and talking to somebody in a call at the same time. I need to get better at this, but it's just something I need to work on, really. But I'm hopefully going to get a bit better at that. Let's actually click play while we're doing this. Speaking of the Monday stream, let's go into that. Monday we played Supervive. We played it with Onyx, good friend of mine. Professional streamer, as I like to joke, because he gets really annoyed when I say that. But yeah, I think generally I have no problem with the actual playing with my friend. It was so much fun to play with a friend. It's always a better experience to have someone back and forth, you know, being able to talk back and forth, have a conversation with. I think generally, me not knowing my mute key and then having to talk with the chat and talk with him at the same time and not wanting to, you know, intrude onto randomly talk about somebody else in the chat while on a call with him, so trying to figure out my mute but not knowing my mute key, all that stuff combined, I think I generally wasn't that happy with the stream quality. And I don't have a particularly high standard for my streams. I mean, the volume mixing is still not great, and was not great for... It's not great now, but it was even worse for like half a year, you know? But I wasn't a huge fan of that. The game itself and the company was great. I loved playing Supervive. It's the new obsession that we sort of play in the free time, until something came out recently. But I love that, and I love playing with Onyx. Always do. Long-time friend, as I said. But this will come up constantly, but I generally just didn't feel particularly good about the stream quality. I think that was it. But yeah, if I could do it again, I would do it again. Tuesday, not much happened with me, just sort of relaxing. Wednesday, we did some more Baldur's Gate, and I was lucky to have mute in the chat occasionally, just to sort of give me general directions and give me, you know, some advice. I think they were worried generally if like they were being a bit too, you know, what's the word, like backseat driving me. But honestly, I mean, you've seen the, I forget which episode, but it's just me not figuring out what I'm supposed to do and just going round in circles. I think it was in Rogue Trader, not knowing what to do, interacting with everyone. It was at the Dark Elf area. Just going round in circles, talking with everyone, having no idea what I'm supposed to do. And that was the whole stream, or most of the stream. And so when it's like, I hope I'm not overly backseating, I'm like, backseat more. Backseat, like, infinitely. Because, good God, when I'm not being backseated, I am horrendous. Technically, that one's going to be stronger when the thought of the combat happens. But yeah, it was quite funny, because it's like, completely opposite. Like, I don't really like backseating too much, but in that kind of game I need it, because I get overwhelmed. I got overwhelmed in the city, and that might be because of the brain fog, but it also, I generally think I would be overwhelmed as well. But yeah, it was very, very fun. I'm having a load of fun with Baldur's Gate. It's to the point where I'm having that same worry now as I did with Rogue Trader, where I'm worried now, how do I get a game that's of this quality that I'm so invested in, for after this is done? Like, what do I do? My general idea at the moment is Metaphor. I'm not sure how good Metaphor is. I'm not even sure if it's like an incredible game, but oh, interesting. Is it only, it's only a one-time buff? Okay. I've never played a Persona-like game. I've watched a couple of people play it, but I've never played a Persona game, and so I'm looking forward to giving it a try, seeing if I'm any good at it. So that's top on the list at the moment. Second on the list is like trying out like the Dragon Age game, or the what was it called? There's that other one where there's the Sphinx. I mean, I always forget its name, but that one as well. Other than that, I can't think of anything. There's a small chance I try the Pathfinder game again, but honestly, I don't think it's high on the list, just because I don't find myself having a lot of fun with those games. Because I always hit that point that I was worried about with Rogue Trader, but like, I know that I will hit that point in the Pathfinder game, because it's happened twice. I've tried to play the game twice and failed because of that hitting that point. It's the Demon City. Like, I hope that's not too much of a spoiler, but that there's a Demon City in the game, and that place is my hard limit. I can't seem to get past it. But yeah, I've been starting to look at, just in preparation, other RPGs that I can go into. It's a shame I've already gone through Mass Effect, because Mass Effect would be a good option. Another option is potentially Starfield, because I never played through all of that, and I didn't hate the game, and there was a couple of quests in it that I was quite invested in. Oh, hello, cat. Hello? You don't want to be on screen. But yeah, maybe that, but it's a bit iffy. It's a bit up in the air. We'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there's some RPGs that I can think of that I haven't played through that I can give a shot. There's probably loads that are there that I can do stuff about. But I don't know if it'll be. I don't think it'll top Baldur's Gate. I've got a feeling that Baldur's Gate will continue to be my top RPG. Just because of the sheer story and the sheer like voice acting and everything that's done in it. What are you doing? What are you doing? You don't want to be here. What are you doing? Oh, that's an elemental. For the life of me, I would have put that down as a dragon, or at least a dragon elemental. Look, I love you, but you gotta like, what does this do? End of turn effect. End of turn effect. None of these have an end of turn effect. Damn. I need to get myself an end of turn effect. Neither of these do either. I mean, this is an incredibly stacked thing, but still. You wanna go there? You wanna go there? But yeah, generally I think Baldur's Gate was probably my top stream of last week, just because I feel like it wasn't affected as much with the brain fog. I think the only times that I think it was noticeable was I was doing a lot of backtracking. I was doing a lot of second guessing with myself, more so than usual. I think with that, it was pretty obvious. Okay, I need to see the screen. Look, Safi, I love you, but I need to see the screen. I need to see the screen. Yeah, I know, you're a cute cat. And if you want to be stroked, I'm obviously going to do it because I'm a weak-willed person. Doesn't change the fact that you need to get down. Yes, I know. I'm sorry, but I really need you to get down. We're gonna get you this person, and then we're gonna get like this, and we're gonna play it on him. And then we're going to get this Proto Drake, and we're gonna we'll get rid of you. We'll put you down, and then we'll get you. Yeah, you're a cute cat. You're a cute cat. Should I get rid of these things? You know what? Why not? Why not? None of these have an end of turn effect still. I can't. I'm sorry that you can't see me. But this cat refuses to leave. And I'm too scared to say no to her. I play this boy. End of turn. And at the end of your turn, I guess that would give it an upgrade. It's the only end of turn effect I have. Cool. there. I do this incredible strategy when it comes to Hearthstone Battlegrounds, which is to order my creatures from highest attack to lowest attack, and that's it. That's all I do. You're a cute cat. You're a cute cat. I don't know what you're planning on doing here. Did you just see a camera and want to be on it? I mean, the camera's not incredible quality. They're probably just gonna see you as a little black blob on the screen. Ah, you are a cute cat, though. That's one of the things with me, is I adore cats. I absolutely adore them. I mean, it's another dragon, I guess. Yes, I know. You're a cute cat. Ooh, +3 attack. Ooh. But yeah, Baldur's Gate was great. And then on Friday, we did an early stream, which, by the way, we're going to have to do again. I'll get back to it. Get back to you guys at a later date about what the change to the time is, but we'll have to do it early. I'm guessing probably like 11, maybe 12 o'clock, because I've got a works due that I'm going to try and get through as quickly as physically possible, because I am not looking forward to it. I've not been forced, I just kind of got peer pressured into it. So yeah, as soon as that's done, I'll be getting home, but I won't have, it'll be around the time of my normal stream, so I can't do it then. But yeah, generally, I'm having less fun with the God storyline, mainly just because, for one, it's not given enough time to sort of like become a proper story, in my opinion, because it's raids instead of like an actual patch quest story. And two, and I feel like maybe the bigger part for me is I just generally don't, and it's souring the whole thing, is the fact that I just generally I'm just getting annoyed with the time. I mean, you saw how annoying it got for me in the last stream, where literally we were waiting for so freaking long, and it never happened. I had to call it because it had been so long. And when those kinds of things happen, it puts me off playing the game. Never mind specifically like, oh, then gonna do that gives you more. Sure, I like him. Never mind like anything else. It puts me off playing the game. And so I'm going to try it again next stream. I will be booting up the game, and while preparing for the stream, be duty finding. What is this? What is this? What is this? Hey? What do you want? I mean, I know stroking you is just giving you positive reinforcements to stay there, but still. But yeah, like, generally I wasn't 100% there in the stream either. I think that was mainly just because of having to just sit there waiting for a raid for so long. I'm not confident in my ability to talk on nothing. It's why at the very least I don't do like just chatting streams a lot. I have to have something there to talk about when I'm streaming, because I don't feel like I'm good at like the improv-y stuff that you need to just talk about absolutely nothing. And so being in that situation where all I'm doing is duty finding, I was effectively put in the situation of a just chatting stream, really. You... Come on. Come on. Don't look at me like that. I know you know what you're doing. I know you know that you're just sitting here for the sake of it. Bow and now. I don't think I want to play it. Okay, you will get another 3 minutes, and then I physically move you onto the bed. You understand, Safi? You understand? You understand, Saf? You do, don't you? You're just choosing to ignore me. This feels like one of the most overpowered passives, by the way. It's just like, hey, do you want to be a dragon build and guarantee that every refresh you have a dragon you can take? Pick this. This is definitely the type of hero I like having. One that's just like, hey, it's easier for you to be this tribe. Because I'm very much one of those people that goes, I stick to a tribe, I force it, and if that doesn't work, well, I guess I've lost. You know, it's not a great strategy by any means, right? But it's the strategy that I always use. So these get +1, +2 for each other friendly dragon. So they're getting +1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're getting 5/10 every turn. So this one is technically still higher attack. By the way, this is still insane to me. It's just this thing that buffs all other dragons seems to just be like a slave, for lack of a better word. What are you doing? Is the other cat here? Yeah, the other cat's asleep over there. Why aren't you asleep over there? Come on, please don't let it get to the 1 minute mark where I have to actually move you. I don't want to move you. I don't want to move you. You're a cute cat, and I love you dearly, but I don't want to move you. But I will. This seems very good. I never know what to put this plus attack to, because I never know, like, I like the general buffs that are like plus it to everything, you know? I like that they put that thing as a dragon specific thing, because I love that ability. I don't think that I particularly will be using Caligos, but it's cool to have. Right, Safi, you're being moved. I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry. Yeah. Right, hello. You can see me now. And the cat's got really annoyed with me and is now leaving, I think. But yeah, Friday stream was okay. I would do it again if I could. I guess technically I will next Friday. In terms of what I've sort of been doing over the weekend, it's effectively been a tale of two things that I've been doing. throughout the week I've been playing this game called Wild Frost. It's a game that is in the Jingle Jam collection, which I would highly recommend you getting. 35 quid, 18 games, all of them are quality. I've been playing a lot of effectively the 2 turn-based roguelike games over and over again, which is the one I talked about before, Wild Frost, and Hadean Tactics. Both are really, really good games. I've been playing both of them a lot, but my obsession over this week has been Wild Frost. Wild Frost is so fun and such a sort of, I don't want to be mean to the devs, and I hope they don't take this the wrong way, but it's such a good sort of second monitor game. So every time I've been watching a stream, every time I've been watching anything, any videos on my computer, just in the side I'd have like Wild Frost, and I'd be playing a game and I'm not really thinking about what the moves are, because I don't really think about this stuff too much in any of these games. I don't really think in these games. I love strategy games. I hate thinking in strategy games is more what I'm getting at here. I'm getting rid of this boy. This may come back to bite me, because I'm getting rid of people with battle cries to supplement a character that has a battle cry, but still. See, I don't want something that's a constant at the end of the turn. I want something that gives me an immediate battle cry now. I'll take this because I like it. I like investing in the future with these ones. Oh, these are battle cries. I don't know every time you've magnetized this game. That's going to be fun to play. I love mechs. We'll have to try and get a game in with mechs, because I love playing mechs. You don't have a battle cry, but you'll be good as a temporary thing here. Cool, yeah, and so I've been playing a load of that. Really, really cute, really, really simple to get into. Just trying to sort of get through the game, have fun. Generally, it's been just a fun, relaxing, turn off the brain thing. And the second thing that started much later into the week, so sort of like Saturday, Sunday, sort of games. I think a bit of Friday, but not that much. Is I've been playing the Path of Exile 2 early access thing, and I've been having a load of fun with it. I'm not really. I like ARPGs, but I always hit that wall that I did the same sort of wall I had in Pathfinder, where I hit a point where my build, which is normally pick a general direction over the things I like, but not really focus the direction too much, normally fails after a certain point, because even with my higher level than the areas, what the area wants thing, I'm still losing to these dudes because they insta die or something, right? Surprisingly, that hasn't happened yet. I'm in Act 2. I'm making slow progress through it. I've been having a lot of fun playing it with a friend. I'm not the best at dodging attacks, but I'm starting to learn. And I've not been having too many problems. There's been a couple of bosses that have taken 3, 4, 5 tries maybe. That's mainly just the act boss. But it's just been a slow improvement going, okay, what can we change of our builds to make it so we're a bit more tanky against this guy? What do we have to do here? What do we have to do here, you know? And over time, I think we've just been getting better and better at playing the game. And so I've been having a load of fun playing that. It's a really fun, if slightly janky game. The reason why I say slightly janky is there's a load of like little bugs with it. I don't think I've played the game without there being some form of bug in the game. So I've been playing with friends, and it seems like playing with friends is even more janky. because I've been having many times where, like, for example, we'd play with friends, and then we find that occasionally we're just stuck in this loading screen constantly. And then we find out through trial and error, not through like an actual bug report, but through trial and error, that what was happening was that when we both went through started loading a new area at the same time, it would start infinitely loading. And then we were like, okay, we can solve this. But then another problem came across where, like, occasionally, and I haven't had this happen now, so I think I might have patched it out, but what was happening was that we would be in a party, me and my friend, and occasionally just random people would be invited to our party that were unrelated to us two, not friends that have like joined on us, not like anyone we knew, definitely not people we had invited. And then when we tried to kick them, it would say we were not in the party. And when we would try and leave the party, it would say we're not in a party. But we're in a party. And the reason why this was a problem was not only would it buff all the people we were fighting, because the people would be now made for 3 people fighting it, but also what it would do is it would go, hey, better hope those people aren't going through a loading screen when you are, because then the other bug would come back. And then we were having some server problems where it was a bit like finicky, where my friend would be jumping around on my screen, which wasn't great to see happen. Trigger, I guess we could trigger this one. Or is this just after you trigger a battle cry? Okay, we'll take you as well. And then we put this person back in, because why not? And then let's refresh the whole thing. Any of these good? Not what I want. That one might be okay. It's got 2 battle cries, so it's probably worth. And so it's the silver-handed recruit, probably. So I think this is worth freezing. I don't feel like we'll win against a better dragon build, but I think we've buffed ourselves a decent amount, and it's +1/+2 on everything. Well, on like 7 things. All but 1, you know? But yeah, I've generally been having a load of fun. I've been playing a fighter. I've heard a couple of complaints about the melee people being like a lot weaker or having problems. I haven't particularly come across this. I've been pretty tanky, been able to get hits in when I can, and even when fighting on my own, been having a pretty decent time against bosses. Admittedly, I'm probably like 2 levels on average higher than the bosses, but I think that's fair. I have an alt that I've been playing, not with my friend, who I've been playing a sorcerer. That's been fun. I've had no particular problems with that one either. It's generally you're a lot less tanky, but even then I've not been being hit for tons of damage every time. So it's not been a huge problem. I'd say the only time that I've been like, oh, this is really annoying, has been when I haven't understood the mechanic. So for example, I've been fighting this guy, I won't spoil anything about it, but it has an attack that just insta-killed us. And we were like, oh god, what the heck is the thing with this attack? I don't understand it. But then we learned what is specifically said. They point out when that attack's going to happen. So they go out of their way to telegraph this attack against you. And then not only do they do that, but they also go out of their way to make the attack not actually that hard to dodge in the scheme of things. And so combining that with what we knew, it was just like generally like, okay, this is obviously just a bit we missed, and then as soon as we realized that we had missed it, we could just solve the problem, and it wasn't really that hard. I've been having a lot of fun with it. There is a lot of things missing with it though. There's very limited legendaries. My friend was telling me about how there's only 2 legendary crossbows. I dislike one of the mechanics they have in it. This is a side tangent, but I dislike one of the mechanics where what they do is they go, here's a legendary, it'll do this amount of damage, so you can't really build around it, which is a bit of a shame, and you'll only get it at that damage. Don't like that. I talked about the limited just in terms of uniques, but also just half of the weapons are just not in it. So those weapons are obviously more made for the classes they haven't added yet, because there's about half the classes they don't have in yet. The problem is that even though they're the supposed like things you focus in those classes that aren't in it, doesn't mean that the other classes don't use them. And in fact, what you find a lot of the time is you'll look at the, say, fighter, for example, because it's the example I know. I look at it and go, okay, I could use this mace, or there seems to be something a lot here about being able to use a there seems to be something here about being able to use a axe instead, and there being a whole axe skill tree. But actually there's not a whole axe skill tree, because axes aren't in it, because axes are for the class that hasn't been added yet. But the problem with that is that it also makes the fighter that you're playing significantly less like unique, because they don't have that thing that is half of their class. So it's like, this might change later on, but it just feels a bit iffy. So really all you can do is you can go one-handed hammer and a shield, which all it does is add like 2 more skills, maybe 3, that use shield specific stuff. Or you get the 2-handed mace. And it's especially weird for stuff like Ranger that my friend is playing as an alt, where there's all these skills that are specifically around using a spear, but spears aren't in it yet. And so you're stuck with a situation where it's like, oh, but so I have to use a bow. There's no real other way I can play it, because all my stuff is focused around using a bow, or at least a lot of my passive skill stuff is related to using a bow. So I could try using a crossbow, but it doesn't really work, you know? I think this will just be a time thing. It's an early access, and I think people coming into it expecting it to be a full-on... let's just hit them with the I'm probably gonna die emote that doesn't go through. Cool. People who come into it expecting a full game did not read what it actually is, you know? The fact that I've gotten through Act 1, which is perfectly fine for that. Act 1 could have just been the early access, and I don't think anyone would complain. And it's really, really fun, and the visuals on all the weapons and all the enemies are really, really cool. I can't wait for somebody to either like get the source code so that I can see the models in better detail, or them to have a bestiary or like a weapon armory or something that I can look in full detail at the weapons. But some of them look awesome, just absolutely awesome. My friend joked about how it's like, oh, this is going to be a dream for like making D&D weapon magic items and stuff, and it's like, I even then joked back of like, yeah, it definitely is going to be like that, because I'm already thinking of characters that would use these weapons, you know? It's weird to say, but like building a character around the idea of like, who would use this kind of weapon? But yeah, the art is incredible. The aesthetic is so cool. I would say The city area really reminds me of Bloodborne. Just with the sort of Victorian Gothic sort of horror kind of aesthetic. The sort of foresty area reminds me heavily of like Dark Souls and these sort of dark fantasy things. Generally, I mean, the stories here or there, I very rarely, I'll be honest, I'm not keeping to the story a huge amount. Ooh, we can go Quillboars. I like Quillboars. Who's better? I think this one's better. I don't want to be buffing blood gems onto this boy because you probably want to get rid of the boy. But yeah, really, really good game. Really highly recommend it. I mean, if you don't want to spend the admittedly quite cheap price of 29 quid for a game that is probably equivalent to an average ARPG just in early access with much better art than the average ARPG. And much more comprehensive like dodging system. People have been comparing it to Dark Souls, and I can see the logic with the aesthetic plus the adding of dodge rolls, but I don't see it personally. The combats are significantly more forgiving than Dark Souls, because that's not the point of it. The skill tree is significantly more complex. It's an ARPG. Whereas, Dark Souls is not an ARPG, in the sense that we use the word ARPG. In the definition of what an ARPG is, it's an action role-playing game. But in the sense of like your Diablos, your Titan's Quests, your Path of Exile, it's not really in the same ballpark. It's a different kind of game. Dark Souls is a completely different kind of game. But yeah, I've been hearing some complaints about people talking about specifically early game bosses and saying that they're too hard, and I do not understand it. Bearing in mind that this, not knowing me, you probably like, oh, you're just probably too good at the game. It's got to be there for the people who are not that good at the game. The people who are like average at these games. I'm bad at games, like. And that's not just me saying it. It's like I know for a fact that I am below average when it comes to video games. And I'm telling you that I have sat in, especially the first boss, and people were talking about it, the Devourer. And people were like, this boss is really, really hard. And I'm just sitting there going, I face tanked it as a blimmin' witch. I sat there and generally just moved strafed left and right, and in some instances just sat there hit my potion, was regaining health, and just sat there. It was hitting me, I was hitting hit. It was literally just we will not dodge attacks, we will just keep hitting each other until one of us wins for a decent amount of that fight. And then even just strafing left or strafing right is honestly enough to... How many times can this happen? 3? Oh, nice. That's going to be perfect. Just strafing left or strafing right is enough to dodge most of the attacks of especially the early game stuff. Once you start getting to, say, the 3rd or 4th of the bosses, I can start to understand where you're coming from, about how you do have to dodge a bit more, but I've found myself, admitted of not being one of those people who's good at dodging, I have found myself needing one, maybe 2 tries against some of the harder bosses of Act 1. Now, I haven't gotten to the final boss of Act 1, and I'm dreading it because I don't feel like I can take that on my own, but the Act 1 bosses, bar the final one, I've found to be generally pretty easy. Once you just learn the occasional one where the attacks are devastating you, you just have to learn the 1 or 2 attacks that get you. Because generally the strafing will help you. Like, there'll be attack where they wind up and you just gotta make sure you dodge roll out of the way. And a lot of the time you can just sort of do what I do, where it's panic dodge roll. I'm like, oh god, I'm about to die. Panic dodge roll, panic dodge roll, panic dodge roll. And you'll probably be fine. I found myself being fine at the very least. And I see myself as being just above the average IGN reviewer, which is pretty low quality. Ooh, you. I think you need the death rattle. Boop. We're putting it all on this boy. You know what? No, we'll put 2 on you. The fact that this dude's not a Quillbore, very weird to me. I don't think it would be any weaker if he was also a Quillbore. Do I want another one of these? Is this good enough for freezing? This will go down to 6. This will go up to 8. I could sell this. Yeah, that's worth. Cool. But yeah, generally, bosses, bar the first act boss, I do not understand the comment of people saying it's difficult. I will say that the Act 1 boss is probably going to be a killer for many people. Oh, hello there. Nice to meet you. But yeah, generally, if you're playing Path of Exile, I think you'll be fine up to the final Act 1 boss, and then if that point, just bring some friends in. You're gonna, I think, is the only way if you're having a hard time against it. I could completely understand people putting down the game after doing the Act 1 boss. Apparently the Act 2 one's bad. Question: how is Hearthstone for new free-to-play player? It depends on what you want to play. If you're planning on playing the standard and you're trying to get into the standard ranked sort of play style, you will find yourself being able to maybe build. If you're completely a new player and you've got I'll tell you what, let me turn down my music a tiny bit. If you're a completely new player and you're making a new account, they will normally give you enough stuff so that you can look on the internet and make one viable ranked standard deck. And if you can master that deck or just keep playing it over and over again, you can get pretty high in the ranked standard queue. I've seen many people on YouTube videos and stuff do it, and sure, they're probably going to be more experienced than somebody new, but generally there's some easier decks you can use. If you're planning on playing Battlegrounds, for example, you don't need to pay anything. I've never paid anything for Battlegrounds. It's generally pretty free-to-play friendly. I think generally Hearthstone is pretty free-to-play friendly. But Battlegrounds, the only thing you're missing out on is that you won't have the two... When you're choosing what hero you want to choose, you won't have the 2 side ones. It used to be that you didn't have them unless you bought a premium battle pass, but I think now you buy currency to unlock either side. Generally, you'll get a bit of that currency on the battle pass, so if you keep playing, you'll occasionally be able to re-roll. But I don't think the heroes matter a huge amount. Even if I don't particularly like the hero, it's more the tribe that matters in this game. So generally, for a new free-to-play player, I think it's much better than Magic the Gathering. I think it's much better than... That's really the only other TCG I can compare it to. I think it's pretty good. As I said, the two main ways you can play, Battlegrounds and Standard. You can make one decent standard deck through dusting everything you get for free. And you can play Battlegrounds. Shadowverse, yeah, I've seen the occasion. I've only watched one stream of somebody playing Shadowverse, so I can't really compare the two. all I can say is what I've said before about you can make one sort of two to push ranked decks by just dusting, like disenchanting every card you get from the beginner's sort of tutorial thing. They normally give you a rental deck, which is a deck that's, I think, ranked playable, that you can play for a bit as like a rental on the standard, and then after a certain amount of time they allow you to then purchase that rental deck for, I think, cheaper than if you had to craft it yourself. So generally, yeah, I would say it's pretty free to play friendly. The only thing I'll say is I don't know how Shadowverse is when it comes to like rank standard, but especially Hearthstone now, if you're playing it ranked, you will find yourself a lot of stuff happens quickly now. Like, I don't know if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, where like most of the time the ranked standard decks in Yu-Gi-Oh will like win within the first couple turns. It's not to that point in Hearthstone, but it's very, very fast now. Very, very fast. Yeah, it's not to the level of like how standard Yu-Gi-Oh from an outside point of view seems to be nowadays, where like turn 1 or turn 2 you've got to have won. But it's still pretty fast, and it can be a bit overwhelming with some of the stuff that happens in it. And a lot of the time you'll be every turn you'll be filling the board with powerful minions, and then every turn it goes to the other person, it'll be like they clear your whole board, and if they don't do that, you probably win. Because the power creep after so many years has just keep going up and up and up and up. So it can be a bit overwhelming, but I mean, if you've played a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh and you didn't mind Yu-Gi-Oh, it's slower than Yu-Gi-Oh. And again, I'm not sure about Shadowverse because I've only watched somebody play through like the sort of story bits of that. But with a new account, with being able to play like 1 or 2 sort of like ranked viable decks, you can sort of figure out whether you want to invest anything into this. In terms of like completely free to play, it is quite hard after you get past that season where you get the free ranked deck, because you won't get that next season. They don't give it to everybody free unless you make a completely new account. So you'll be working entirely off disenchanting previous stuff, which can get a lot harder to figure it out. What I'm sort of trying to say is it's very good at initially doing free to play, but after it does the initial free to play, it becomes a lot harder to continue to play free to play. And as I said before, I mean, Battlegrounds is a completely different case. Battlegrounds is just it'd probably be completely different to a regular TCG, because this is more of like an auto battler, but Battlegrounds is completely free to play viable. There's absolutely no advantage other than they get 4 picks instead of 2 when it comes to Battlegrounds. I'm trying to figure out if I'm doing well or not. I'm not losing a lot of health. I've won the past couple ones, but I am only focusing 2 minions, and the rest of them are all there as sort of just like placeholders. This one probably stays just for the playing blood gems on all my minions. But I feel like the way you're supposed to play Quillboars is I'm supposed to be making those blood gems a lot stronger. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not very good at this game. If it comes to like, if we're talking about like actual like ranked viable standard decks, I'm not the person to talk to. I almost exclusively play Battlegrounds, and very, 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 very rarely play anything else. But there's many videos on it. There's websites where you can get viable builds and see the stats and everything. They have a huge community when it comes to that sort of stuff. And if you want to get the sort of levels of like, if you want to get the levels of like fast-paced sort of game, yeah, their Discord's quite good as well. If you want to get the sort of fast-paced Yu-Gi-Oh sort of style of Hearthstone, there is Wild, where you get access to, well, where you can use every card that they've ever made. Needless to say, that one can get insanely fast and insanely quick in terms of how they do stuff. I think we're getting rid of these things now. Never mind, we're going to play a couple of these first. We'll play it on you. We'll play it on you. But yeah, they're the ones where I don't think it's the point of like that you can win on like turn one, but they are like you can win on like a couple turns. You know what? I'm gonna probably keep using you, so I'm gonna buff you a tiny bit. I can't use these, but I want this one. You know what? Let's do this on you. Ooh, perfect. I'll freeze both of those. Yeah, the Discord's really good. I think, like, as much as people will they will say bad things about Hearthstone, and it is quite money grabbing. It does kind of like you do feel like they're trying to squeeze you occasionally for like money when it comes to playing the standard game. They are pretty good at getting people into the game. And there is a large community around it that will help you. It's kind of true for a lot of Blizzard games. You'll see it with Diablo, you'll see it with StarCraft. Normally the community around it are really nice and will get you sort of ready, like into the game, and they'll tell you like, oh, this is how you disenchant and what you have to get to make the optimal deck and stuff. And there's so many YouTubers and stuff that have done stuff about it. In fact, I know a wild deck in Hearthstone is a deck that is using it's a format which allows you to use every card that they've ever printed in Hearthstone's life cycle, because in standard Hearthstone they have sort of like they rotate out the expansions, and so you don't have access to every card, whereas in Wild you have access to every card, and normally that means that they're a lot faster. Let me do this. End of the turn. No, I don't want you still. They're normally a heck of a lot faster paced in terms of what happens in them. In terms of what kind of stuff you'd see in a wild deck, I'm not the kind of person to ask about this. Again, as I said, I've watched a lot of stuff about standard, but I haven't actually played a lot of standard because I don't have the brain for it, if I'm being completely honest. But yeah, Wild is definitely for the more fast-paced stuff. Okay, I know we're just putting this guy down because it's something to put down and we have space for it, and it seems pretty good on as a standalone unit. We haven't used this button yet, and I might start using it once we have higher. If we get a second turbo hog, I might use it. I haven't been keeping up with this sort of standard rotation, so I'm not really sure what the latest expansion actually did to the format. But like, as I said, there's many resources about that will tell you what's doing great. Normally Druid. If I had to guess, I'd guess Druid's doing well. Druid always does well. So yeah, I would say if you're planning on getting into it, make sure that you check, even before you do like the tutorial things, make sure that you just check to see which sort of like standard Hearthstone decks are doing well, so that you can maybe choose one of those. As your opener. What does that do? Not useful. Yeah, I'll take you as well. I will take more blood gems. Do this, as much as I don't feel like I'll be using him a ton. Boom, boom. Who else do I definitely think is going to be in the group? Is this one still going to be in the group? Yeah, it's still very good. Oh no, this one kind of does the same effect. It's conditional. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. But yeah, so getting back to the Path of Exile stuff. I think what I mean, I don't know what the other people that were complaining about the bosses were specifically doing, but I would say to them, maybe make sure that a couple of the passive skill points go into some defensive things. I know with my fighter, I'm alternating effectively between finishing like an attacking based passive skill tree and then a defensive based passive skill tree. Because if I don't do that, I know that at some point I'm just going to get absolutely one shot. Whereas, with the added defensive stuff I'm getting, I'm not getting one shot. I'm getting 3 shot, and that sounds like, oh no, that's still pretty scary. But this is 3 shot if I don't heal, and I have like 9 or 8 heals, and they're instant. Well, they instantly go off, but they regain power over time. But still, like, it's effectively like an instant you'll be fine kind of thing. And so it's a lot more forgiving than your Dark Souls or your others. I really want him, but I don't know what I replace. I think I replace this. Although it puts 6 blood gems on everything. Do I replace this? I'm replacing this. I know that might be controversial, but... Oh, hey, Mute. What do I do here? I don't think I need this. But yeah, if anyone's thinking of buying the Path of Exile thing, Path of Exile 2, general opinions on the whole thing is, for one, for what it is, it's definitely worth the price that you pay. But you don't need to, if you don't mind waiting, eventually it'll be free. Like, you're paying for the early access. The game itself will be free on launch, on official launch. I don't know how long it'll be until it'll be officially launched, but if you don't care about that stuff, then you can wait. I'm looking at picking it up. It's a good game. I'm a big fan of ARPGs, but as I said before, I normally hit a wall in them where I can't get past it. But generally, I've not hit that wall yet, and it's a bit more dynamic than a lot of ARPGs I've played, like in Titan's Quest and in like. I will say this: they have not done. One of the complaints I have about PoE 1 is they have not made the passive skill tree much easier. It still, when you zoom out, is this huge web, right? I will say it feels like there's a bit more of an obvious like wedge that is your subclass that is a little bit better. But it still looks a bit complex when you look at it. I haven't been having as much of a problem in PoE 2 though when it comes to it. And you don't have to deal with a load of different potion slots, which I really quite like. You don't have to deal with. They went a bit like the Diablo way in the sense of there's less skills that you get access to. Yes, well, that's the thing, is when you were probably getting into PoE, unless you got into it really early, there's been like 6 or 7 seasons, each of them adding a mechanic that they've kept. For some, I don't know, weird reason, they've decided to just keep those mechanics even though the season's over with. And so you've gone into it and you've gone like, there's like 12 mechanics, each of them adding a new system that I have no idea about. Or at least I went into it with. That they just assume that you've played the other seasons to understand it, and that's one of the advantages of going into PoE 2 is they don't even have all the classes in yet. They don't even have all the weapons in yet. Like they've still got the huge massive skill tree, but they don't have the second or third massive skill tree or the devotion mechanic or the blimmin'. Yeah. That's what I'm kind of hoping as well. It'll be one of those games that I can just, because I've played it from the beginning, I can hop in every season, do a seasonal character, learn the one new mechanic, but I already remember all the other mechanics. I will say it kind of, when you're picking a class in PoE 2 at the moment, you pick a class and then you effectively are picking your weapon, because there's only really one weapon each of the classes can use. Because you can use some of the other weapons, but they're not, your skill tree isn't around those, so it will be a bit harder to do. I'm sure there's builds out there that are like, I'm using a spear as a blimmin' witch and I'm instantly killing everything, because there will always be those incredibly optimized builds. Honestly, it was fine for me as well, but I will say, I do feel like I wish there was a bit more variety. That I do think of one of my complaints for it is like, for example, I'm playing fighter, and the fighter uses a mace, and if it does have another thing it can use, and its skill tree represents that it can use it, but it isn't in the game yet, of like using an axe. But I'm kind of just forced to use a mace. And it does make it a lot easier for me to get into the game. But there is a part of me that's like, I kind of want to try out the axe. I kind of want to have the option to choose the axe. Which is the it's the one that you think of like being the minions. And the thing is, I haven't played using minions yet, but it seems like it'd be fun. I've played the sorcerer, and the sorcerer seems good, and it seems like ranged based characters are much stronger compared to the melee boys. And so you might have an easier time. And with there being minions, I guess they might take the aggro of some of the bosses and stuff. So honestly, that might be a very good choice. I'll say that, like, especially more than any other ARPG I've played, you kind of have to learn the mechanics and dodge a bit more. It's why I think people have started calling it, like, comparing it to Dark Souls, which is not really comparable to, but it has a dodge roll. So, honestly, it's good. There is a couple of things that are obviously noticeable in terms of it. This is an early access game, but the amount of game you get from it, from being early access, you get 3 acts. Each of these 3 acts are like pretty freaking long. I mean, I've only been through 1 act, and I've played a lot of hours of the game already. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing, is that when you compare it to like what you're getting from the game and what you would get from that sort of price scale with any other company, it's insanely worth it. Because you look at like the average game nowadays, even the cheap ones that are like indie games, you're if they're like a pretty respectable company that are not just like an up and comer, you're spending like 30 quid, maybe more. And honestly, you're getting a proper comprehensive game, better than probably the 20 quid game you were paying for before from the early access. So I would strongly recommend it. Because even, like, it's to the point where, like, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's Christmas time. Money's always going to be a bit short, right? With all the presents and stuff that you gotta buy. I've just sort of thought of this as kind of like my early Christmas present kind of thing. But yeah, even if you just make it to Act 1 boss, you've kind of still got a really good game. Just Act 1 itself is just a really good game. Yeah, I've heard great things from Marvel Rivals. I tried to get into the early access back in the day. But like half a year ago, like, or something. And yeah, I've heard great things about it. I do have to at some point give that a shot, but my time has been taken up with Wild Frost and Path of Exile. Of course you'd go for that. But yeah, it looks really cool. And I'm more into the idea of, like, if I'm going to play a first-person shooter, I want it to be a bit more like power-based, you know. I want it to be a hero shooter, and then the obvious one for hero shooters has always been it's always been Overwatch, right? But Overwatch is pretty bad. Well, yeah, third person, fair enough, but I mean more like a hero shooter kind of thing. What does this do? It summons 3 2644 beetles. But yeah, it looks really cool, and I mean, I'll definitely give it a shot, especially since it's free to play, right? I just haven't had the spare time. I mean, I'm going to be off of work after this week for the rest of the year, so I will probably find a point in which I'll give it a shot. But it's definitely on my list. I could see it being one of those games that I just get addicted to and just play over and over and over again. Oh, that was a mistake. Yeah, honestly, as soon as I get some time for it, generally this week is going to be pretty busy, but as soon as this week is done, I'm going to have a lot more time because I'll be off work, so I probably will give it a shot at some point. At some point then. I will play you. I will get more of these. God, there's so many things that I've got to give a try. I really want to get back into Diablo, but I'm playing Path of Exile 2 at the moment. What are the chances? What are the freaking chances that we say it at the same time? Yeah, I want to get into Diablo again. I probably won't get the DLC until I play through the main game and see if I like it, but I want to try Diablo again. This Path of Exile has made me want to play Diablo again. I want to try Marvel Rivals, as you said. I want to play some more Supervive. That game's great. I've got so many things I want to do. But it's just, you know, it's just finding time, because like every other, when it comes to the weekday, every other day I'm streaming. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they're off the menu. And then it's Tuesday, Thursday, and you're like, kind of just want to relax and not game because I've gamed Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know? So it's normally just a weekend. It's why I've been playing a lot more games that are just sort of casual second monitor stuff. Because a lot of the time it gets to like... Honestly, genius idea. Genius idea. The fact that you don't get your mount until that late is insane to me. I know you don't get mounts in Path of Exile, but the map is not nearly as big. Like, it's not supposed to be more of an open world thing. It's supposed to be like little levels, and you have constant teleports. The fact that you don't get your mount in Diablo is insane that it takes until Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is like so far into the game. And it's a blimmin' horse. What's the logic behind Savior of the Universe can't get a blimmin' horse? It feels like such an oversight, and I don't know why they did it. The only thing I can think of is that, like, they're trying to make people experience the world more by, like, walking, but I don't like that logic at all. It's, I feel like that's a bit of a flawed logic if that was it. But yeah, this has made this PoE. Oh, I don't like that reason at all. PoE 2 has made me want to play all the ARPGs again. Like I bought ages ago, and I kept getting hit in the same like wall in it. I bought Grim Dawn, which is another sort of like Bloodborne sort of Victorian gothic kind of ARPG. I bought that ages ago. I've tried on 2 separate occasions to play through that, and I've hit like a wall both times. I kind of want to give that a go again now. You know, it's made me want to play more ARPGs. God, like 50% of my time now is playing RPGs, and I don't mind it. It's funny. Like, I play PoE 2 in my off time, an ARPG. Every Wednesday I play Baldur's Gate, just a regular RPG. Maybe you could consider it a CRPG. I want nothing. I play on Fridays I play Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMORPG. I'm playing 3 different kinds of RPGs. I mean, I wish RPGs had more of a co-op-y thing. Because I've said this once, I'll say it a million times. Co-op makes games so much better. There's so many games I just wouldn't play if they weren't co-op. And there's a solid argument that the reason why I'm finding PoE 2 so fun is because I've been playing it almost exclusively co-op. It's just playing co-op just means that, like, when you fail, there's somebody there to go like, ah, it's not so bad, or, you know, it's so good. And one other sort of, yeah, exactly. One of the reasons why I considered buying Code Vein was because I thought it had co-op, but the co-op is incredibly bad. So I didn't buy Code Vein. But like I was like, ooh, a Dark Souls style game with anime stuff in it, and it's co-op. Ooh, that sounds perfect to me. Had a look when 2 of our other friends bought it and were trying co-op. Oh, you have to join their game after every world. Ugh, like every loading screen, you have to join the game again. Horrendous. One of the games I've had the absolute most fun on. Admittedly, I don't play it for long, but the time I do play it, I have a load of fun with it. What was the name of it? That's the game I was thinking of. Remnant 2. Remnant 1 I had so much fun with. Remnant from the Ashes. Playing through that final boss of it, like just playing with my friends and just sort of going like, okay, this is how we deal with it, this is what we gotta do, was so fun. Remnant 2, it was okay. It didn't hit the same for me. Maybe it was because I got through the game so quickly. The game was a bit easy, especially if you play with friends. But yeah, like co-op based games, so fun, so fun. And it probably is one of the reasons I'm having fun with PoE 2 as much as I am, because whenever I'm feeling like, oh god, I can't beat this thing, I've got Onyx there to like just destroy it. Yeah, the thing is with Monster Hunter games, I've never got into them. I bought Monster Hunter Rise, I think, on the suggestion of a couple of our friends. I think it's Rise. Let me just have a quick look. Monster... Yeah, Rise. And I was having a fun when I was playing with friends, but I found myself not having a lot of fun whenever I was playing on my own. And I've seen look, the visuals for Monster Hunter Wild look, for lack of a better word, wild. Like, they look incredible, right? But there's a part of me that wonders if there's like a skill ceiling for it. Because I look at it and I'm just like, this is cool. But I remember playing Monster Hunter Rise, and whenever I was playing on my own, just getting dogged by even the basic things, because I'm just not very good at dodging. And I look at Monster Hunter Rise and I'm like, I look at Monster Hunter Wild and I'm like, is it just going to be the same thing? Am I just going to get like screwed over because I can't do the combos very well and I'm not very good at dodging? I mean, I like the idea to being able to explore the world. That's a cool idea. But if I can't do well with the basic, you know, combat, am I going to do well in the game? Yeah, I know, that's the problem. And that makes me wonder if that maybe isn't just my thing. Like, maybe that's just not my thing. But then I thought that with ARPGs. Yeah. I just don't know if I'm never. I don't know if I'm good at those sort of like learning patterns thing. But again, as I said, I thought that about ARPGs, but I've been having fun with PoE 2, so maybe I could prove myself wrong. Maybe I'm getting better. But I mean, I'll keep an eye on it. It's in the peripheral for me. It's definitely one of those things I'm looking forward to in the next year. But honestly, what I really want to look for is just like the next sort of big RPG, because I'm an RPG fanatic, right? I love RPGs, and so I'm just looking out for that next big sort of like RPG kind of thing. Obviously, it's not going to be at the level of Baldur's Gate, right? But like some sort of turn-based big RPG that's sort of like in that sort of fantasy sort of setting, I would absolutely adore. And the last couple of them have been apparently quite mediocre. Dragon Age was apparently a bit of a flop. So I'm just looking for the next one. Looking for that one that can sort of... Now that I'm playing them on stream and reading the stories a bit more, ones I can just sort of get into the story of and learn and get invested in the characters and everything. But I don't know of any that are coming up, but I don't keep a huge eye out for stuff like this. Ooh, I mean, I like a lot of Owlcat stuff. If it's Owlcat originals, where they're not using the Pathfinder system, I will probably buy it. I probably will buy it because I like the Rogue Trader sort of system. If even though the game's a bit easy, I like the Rogue Trader system. I didn't have a problem of ever feeling like I was going to lose or didn't understand a lot of the stuff. I understood the majority of it. And I won't go on about it because I've talked endlessly about my complaints about the Pathfinder games and my the fact that I've gotten stuck on them a fair amount of time. Wait, did it just give me health? Oh, they nerfed it. That's annoying. But yeah, I look forward to that. I'm a big fan of Owlcat stuff. The way they do characters, I quite like. I get very invested in the characters a lot of the time. There's normally one or two at the very least. They did a really good job in the Pathfinder games, but admittedly they had a guideline for those characters because from what I've been told, like I'm pretty sure they're just the heroes in those modules. At the very least for the Kingmaker one. But even in Rogue Trader. Oh, interesting. Is that different? So Owlcat developed the Rogue Trader and the others, right? Or did they also just publish them? Yeah, they made those. Okay, so I mean, I'm a bit more apprehensive about it then. I'm a bit more apprehensive because, like, it's not them making it. But yeah. I mean, if they're putting the seal of approval on it, then at the very least I'll give it a look, you know? Do you have any idea of, like, what the general, like, story or how it's going to be or anything about it at the moment? Like, is it a fantasy thing? Ooh, okay. When you say machines, do you mean like mechs or do you mean like tanks or like... What are we talking about when we say machines? Steampunk. Oh, interesting. Okay. Steampunk feudal Japan with magic. I could see myself liking that. It's a really interesting concept. Oh, cool, thanks. It also doubly works at showing that luckily now notifications don't appear on the stream, so I'm not blimmin' doxing anybody. Because I was worried I was going to do that. Let's have a look at this. Shadow of the Road. I'll look at it in the background. Oh, okay. Oh. It's a different aesthetic, but I like it. Okay. I could see myself getting into that. It's definitely a different sort of look to a game. It's its own thing compared to blimmin' Owlcat games. I wonder how it'll play. But it's interesting. I'm definitely gonna be looking forward to that. Yeah, I mean that'll be cool. I'd be interested to see if you can go more like magic based and then more steampunky based, or whether you have like a mix of the both or something. Be interesting to see. Or is it just the norm nowadays for game developers to also just be publishers as well? Like once they get like a couple of good games down there in the pipeline, they just become a publisher as well? Is that just what you have to do as a developer now? Because like if I feel like every company I know now is doing that, except for like Larian. Like I don't think Larian's doing any publishing at the moment. I'd love to see what Larian's Larian's next project is actually. I don't think it'll come out this year though, because they'll probably they've only had yeah, a lot of mainstream publishers are bad and probably take a huge cut from the actual developers. I think it'll be a while though until we see whatever Larian's doing, because they haven't even been full-time on it. They've still been doing updates for Baldur's Gate until until they're still doing them. Like they're doing a huge update even now or in recent time. And most of the updates they do are not like little things. They'll be like, here's a new ending. You know, like, it'll be stuff like that. So I don't think they've had much time fully on whatever their new project is. Like I'm sure they're doing it on the sidelines. And then there was that whole thing of like they had started the DLC for Baldur's Gate, and then Hasbro and Wizards do that incredible thing that they're able to do, where it's like, oh, we've got this really good thing, I guess we're just gonna throw it away, you know? Oh, we have this literally game of the year thing set in our setting. Everyone would logically go, well, we better just keep them happy and not like fire every person that worked with them, or near enough everyone that worked with them, to the point where they just don't want to do a DLC for you. God, it pisses me off a load hearing all that stuff. Because I love, I've been on record constantly of saying I love blimmin' D&D. It was my sort of my thing. It was my gateway into into TTRPGs, and I absolutely adore it. Absolutely adore it, and it's like it's still my favorite TTRPG system. But goddamn, do blimmin' Hasbro and Wizards do horrendous decisions that just screw over their reputation. Oh, for some DLC or something for BG3, but totally understand allowing decisions to work on personal projects. Well, that's the thing. They were planning on doing one, and then they realized the company they're working with and decided to do personal projects. And the thing is, I'm not that annoyed because I kind of like the Divinity setting. The story, the story gets a bit iffy in the later acts, but like, it's obvious that they've learned from that with Baldur's Gate, because I've not hit a point yet where I'm annoyed with the story. It definitely doesn't get like notably worse in the later acts. So I mean, there's a part of me that's always going to be like, but couldn't you just make like Curse of Strahd the game, where you just play through Curse of Strahd, or like one of the other modules of the game as like a DLC to Baldur's Gate 3, or like its own standalone game. God, that would be awesome. But I understand I understand not wanting to work with these people. It's just, there's a part of me that's just like, I don't think I'll ever play through this module, and I'd really love to play through this module. Yeah, I can understand the logic. I don't think I'll ever fall out of interest with 5e, because I as I said, it's my first TTRPG, and I love the rules, and I think it's unlikely that I'll ever fall out of interest with it. But I can completely understand people who do, because it is the company's not great. They don't do great for the reputation. There are problems with it. Like, it's not a perfect game. I'm not gonna try and like say it's the best of the best. So I can completely understand why people would fall out of interest with it. I haven't yet, at the very least. There is some weird rules in it. There's some good things with it. Like, I'm a big fan of the weapon mastery stuff. I like giving extra flares to weapons. I like the fact that they just upped the healing a lot on a lot of spells, just because healing was always just like, here, you're healed for like one hit from the enemy. And so doubling the HP that they could heal potentially means maybe you can heal them for 2 hits instead of 1. But there are weird things in it. People have definitely looked at it and gone, why haven't you fixed this thing that was always a problem? I still think that they haven't completely solved the martial problem, where martials just feel significantly weaker, especially in the later game stuff. They've buffed some of the martial classes, but it's still not to the level of like once the mages and once the wizards and the sorcerers and the other magic classes get access to like, you know, like 3rd, 4th level spells, you start to realize that they're just completely out damaging or out utility, like have so much more utility than the fighter or the ranger or like even the monk, who's gotten a huge buff. There's definitely problems when it comes to them trying to weirdly reinvent the warlock, but also getting rid of all the things, like getting rid of a lot of the things people really liked about the warlock. So I can understand completely why people would get annoyed with them. I still quite like it. I still am a big fan of it, but again, as I said, I can understand it. And there's definitely things I've seen in Pathfinder that I've been like, this is better than this is a way of doing it that's I prefer, that Pathfinder does, that blimmin' D&D doesn't do. For example, I was talking about this with Onyx the other day, but I love racial feats. I absolutely adore racial feats. I think it's a great thing to do. I'm so happy that they do it. It gives a little bit more flavor to like your race and your character, and I have absolutely no complaints about it. What do I want to put this on? Like him? He's probably not. Oh, he might. Nah. But yeah, I really like racial feats. I think they're great. There's not a lot more I can talk about because I haven't played the game yet. Yeah. It's definitely a bonus of Pathfinder. You can make the argument you can kind of do that depending on like, you know, like spell selection in D&D. It's a lot harder though. It's a lot harder to do in D&D than it is in Pathfinder, from what I can see. Obviously, caveat for all of this: haven't actually played haven't played a session of Pathfinder yet, so I have to put that caveat in. But it's another thing I quite like about Pathfinder is you can do a couple of things that you see in like MMOs and RPGs before, where you know how like a boss that you'd fight in an MMO, they'd put something on the ground and it's like, move out of this area or you die. And in D&D, because movement's free, they just move out. Yeah, it's assuming... Well, surely it won't be on the 24th, right? Because isn't that Christmas Eve? I feel like there must be some people who have stuff going on there, and I'm fine. I got nothing on at that point, but I'd find it very 21st. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I think it's 21st as well. But I like the fact that because move is actually an action in Pathfinder, you can actually, like, you moving out of that danger area is costing you something, right? And so it makes it feel a bit more like of a mechanic. So I appreciate that as a mechanic. Whenever this attacks, get a random magnetic mech. I mean, it seems good. But yeah, I look forward to trying out Pathfinder, and it's entirely possible at the end of it I'm like, screw D&D, I just want to play this. Obviously not the end of the first session, but the end of maybe like a couple of like a campaign or something. I might just prefer it. I'm just starting off as a fighter though, so I don't know how complex it's gonna really get. I can't believe I've sort of stabilized at 5 health. Knowing me, as soon as I've said I'm stabilizing at 5 health, it's 100% I'm gonna die to this person. But still, I'm pretty impressed with how we've done here. I was talking with Onyx before of like, I do kind of want to try out something sci-fi based. He was bringing up like Lancer, and I'm for Lancer. I quite like Lancer. But I would love to try a sci-fi thing where we're just like at the human level, in the sense of like not being in a mech. I don't. The problem is there's not a load of really good TTRPG systems for that. I think off the top of my head, the only ones I can think of is like, yeah, Starfinder, which he seemed very much against. I just don't think he likes the aesthetic. of like, I don't know, magic and sci-fi. I didn't really press him on that. Or like Stars Without Numbers is the only other one I know of. But there's a decent amount more. It's a bit more limited when it comes to specifically sci-fi based stuff, it seems. But I'd love to do like a human-sized level. Honestly, what I'd love to do is I'd love to be in a campaign wherein, yeah, I didn't ask him the specifics of it, if I'm being honest. I'd love to be in a campaign where we're in a ship or something. We have our own ship and we travel from planet to planet doing missions as kind of like a mercenary group. I think that would be really cool to do. And then having like your ship as sort of like that moving thing you can upgrade. Maybe, depending on if there's decent rules, having like ship on ship combat occasionally with everybody taking up like a part of the ship. I think I don't know why I did the bunny ears. A part of the ship. I think would be really cool. I think it would be a really cool thing to do. The only sort of sci-fi thing I've done has been I did a lot of Dark Heresy, but that's Warhammer specific, so it's kind of its own different, like, it's its own different thing, right? As much as I do really like the Warhammer setting, and I've read and played something, that's the first I aimed for. Cool, that's really interesting. Because that's like the equivalent of Adventurers, but in space, so it makes sense that they would go for that. From as much as I like the Warhammer setting, it can be a bit. I don't know how you say it. It can be a bit depressing, is what I'm getting at. Oh yeah. It's funny, the Pathfinder game, like, that I'm watching on YouTube, it has one of the creative directors of Starfinder as the DM, or sorry, the GM, because DM is blimmin' copyrighted. So they literally have the guy. They're not doing Starfinder. They're doing Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but they have the creative director for Starfinder as their GM, and it's quite funny. Yeah. I think that's sort of what I was trying to get at, is that it's fun. I really like it. But it has a very sort of depressing, specific theme that I don't want constantly. Because nothing feels like... There is hope in that world, but it feels hopeless. The world pretty much feels hopeless. And there is a part of me that kind of wants to be, like a hero, an adventurer. Be able to take more than a couple hits, And it's not really the style for Dark Heresy. As much as I love the system, and if offered, I would 100% play another game of. I just like the idea of like being an adventurer in space. But we'll see. We'll see if maybe the group generally will have a more positive outlook on Pathfinder and Paizo rules after doing this. After doing these couple sessions, maybe it becomes a thing where we really get into it, and then next time we do something sci-fi, we decide to do Starfinder. we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. Oh yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, this might be. I don't think this is a controversial thing, but I would kind of like to do a campaign where it doesn't instantly get really, really like serious and depressing. Well, not depressing, but serious. It feels like a lot of our like campaigns instantly like it becomes serious. Like it's not just like you fight a couple bandits because it's a quest, and then you fight like, you know, like you find a cave, you explore it, you find a bunch of kobolds in there with a bunch of treasure that they've stolen. You go deal with that. It's just like instantly there's a war, or instantly like we're after this, you know, instantly. Yeah, I think downtime is definitely something that I would love to have more of, mainly just to get better at role playing, because I don't rate myself as a role player very highly, but the only way I get better is via practice, right? And I feel like the way you get the practice is not from a load of combat, you get it from chill downtime. I like serious stuff. As you said, you like serious stuff. I like serious stuff, but I like it if there was like ebbs and flows from it, right? Like serious story, serious arc, couple sessions, maybe 3 or 4 sessions of just sort of chill, maybe doing with like an adventuring job, but in not really being overly serious, and then up to like serious again. Yeah, like filler. Like people always complain about filler in anime because it's not like canon, or like it's just fan servicey stuff. But it doesn't matter when it's us playing. We don't care about it because it's A, canon, and B, it's just fun to do. Like, I'm not asking for a beach episode. I'm just asking for like a mission that isn't really like serious, or like it ends and then that's the end of it, or like time to sort of like do some role play, you know? I think would be cool. And if our 2 DMs hear this, or like if one hears this and thinks this is a jab at them, it's not a jab at you. I really don't want people to take this the wrong way. I am not saying this as like it's what you're doing surrenders or anything like that. I just sort of like voicing my opinion on it. I just don't want to. I'm not great with my words, and I don't want it to hurt anyone's feelings, or get like this impression that I've hated any of the campaigns. I've had a lot of fun in all of them. There's never been a campaign that I've left going, like a session I have left where I've gone, I've not had fun. Except for almost one, but we're not going to talk about that one. I think generally it might be a combination of just me not being very good at communicating. Yeah. I just, when you start talking about negatives, when we're talking about negatives, I just don't want to like people to take the wrong idea. But yeah, I've had, I would like to have a bit more of, not like a happy-go-lucky, but there'd be more chill time. But yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, it's as much of a problem with my lack of communication as it is a problem, like it is anything, right? Like I really should be communicating that a bit more directly. Yeah, it could be. I think one of the problems I think we have as a group is I feel like it never feels like we are a group a lot of the time. a lot of times it's like, why are these people like together? Because we haven't really gained those bonds that you establish really early on from just sort of character development moments. My kind of thinking is like, at the start, you are a group by circumstance, right? You all have one job that you want to do, and that job is linking you together. And then it's supposed to be that at the end of that job, honestly, you're preaching to the choir here. I'm bad at words. I'm really bad at words. And so I've been horrendous explaining what I want. But yeah, as I was saying, like, you all have one goal and that unites you. But as soon as that you've completed that like first act, there should be, because of character moments, you should sort of have established a bit of a bond, and I feel like we very rarely get that. Amplifier is a good way to describe it. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I understand what we mean, and you understand what we mean, but it's like, is it good at explaining it to somebody that maybe doesn't understand yet what you're trying to get across? Well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely another sort of like potential complaint about the whole thing. It's definitely something that, when you're always fighting for your lives, it can be a bit hard to have those moments. I think, you know what, I will say this. I think we are improving when it comes to this. I think every time we bring up a complaint with both of the DMs, they learn from it, and well, not a complaint, a suggestion, they learn from it, and then they at least partially improve. Well, sorry, I don't want it to sound mean. They take it on board, and the next campaign is better than the last. I'm trying really hard for it. A lot of the time when I say stuff, it comes across as mean, and I really never mean it. And I really don't want it ever to come across like that, because it's never supposed to be mean. And so I have to stop myself from talking a couple times. But yeah, I think it's getting better. It constantly is getting better. I'm really looking forward to trying a module. Especially one so highly rated. Exactly. I think that's one of the best things about the group. Is I never feel like I say something and it goes in one ear and goes out the other, you know? It always feels like they hear what I say, they take the concern in, and they always ask. They always ask, hey, is there anything I need to do to improve my game in any way? Or like things that you didn't like. It's why I'm not bringing up the one time where it was a bit iffy. And I left the session not really 100%. It's because I know that I brought that up, and they know that, and they immediately put in steps to make sure that didn't happen again. And it's that kind of honest communication that when I look at like r/D&D or like any r/TTRPG thing, and I look at like some of the complaints, and it's like, yeah, they killed my character when I wasn't in, just casually. Or like, yeah, they every time I roll, I somehow fail, even unless I get like a natural 20, and then this guy, he rolls like a 13 and he succeeds. It's just like, I've tried to talk with them and they just won't take on board what I say. It's like, they misunderstand this ability and means that I can't do anything. It is weird. It is very weird. But like hearing the horror stories, even if probably half of them aren't real, because they're probably just doing it to get the upvotes or something. Hearing those and then looking at our group, I'm like, thank God I have a much better group than that. Oh, you know what was funny actually? Speaking sort of on like our group, you know how I love like any form of like nature monster, and I always want nature to be more like stronger. You actually get a lot of that in Path of Exile. There's a lot of nature creatures in there that I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is really, really cool. Like, they're not like a main focus, but there's an occasional ones. Like, there's this like flower, skull-headed like flower like snake thing that looks really cool. There's this thing called the Bramblegast that's like this mini boss that's this like corrupted treant that's really cool. And I just wish they do more with nature. I love like dark, gritty nature. And I think it's one of my like, I always thought the weirdest things about like a lot of fantasy settings actually. You always have like, oh, there's the fire elementals, the water elementals, the earth elementals. Anything that like has a large presence in a world always feels like it has a powerful force behind it. And then you got nature, and it always feels like it takes the sideline. It's always like, yeah, they got like beasts and like, yeah, the trees come alive, but we can just burn them. And it's like, no, they should have power. It's like nature's everywhere. It's why there's a strong likelihood that if I do make that I might turn my backup character in Pathfinder. Now that Leshies are a thing, 100% it's going to be a Leshie. Oh, you're giving me the ability to play a plant creature? Done. I'm playing a plant creature. If I hadn't already made the whole idea of my halfling, you know I would be making a Leshie at the moment. I think that's the name. The plant creatures. They are really cool. And another thing, and this is again another bonus I'd give to Pathfinder, is not only does it have a load of different race options, it also has with the racial feats, like there's so many different ways I can take the Leshie. Like, oh, this one has seeds that it can shoot out. This one has spikes. This one is a seaweed one, so it has like a swim speed. And it's like, oh, these are cool little things I can add to my character. I love racial feats. I love racial feats. It'll be interesting to see how I feel about class feats at the end. I'm not going to make my opinion. I'm not going to give my opinion on those yet. But racial feats, I'm 100% up for. I wish they were in D&D instead of sub races, honestly. Especially when it's like Leshie, right? Because with the idea with Leshie, the idea that you can make any sort of plant Leshie you want just by taking one of these racial feats, and then just using that to flavor your character. I really think that's a good idea. I have to have a look at their I forget what they're called, but it's the like Aasimar / Tiefling race. They're the ones that have like, I mean, that makes complete sense. I could see that. It's a shame it was a bard. No, I'm kidding. That's just a joke. the Aasimar / Tiefling race, where like you have been influenced by like primal powers. I need to have a look at that one to see if there's anything really cool from that, because that looks really interesting to me. I mean, Tieflings are always fun, and I've played Aasimars before. It is a shame that they combined them. I do feel like that was a bit of like a weird thing to do, bearing in mind that like they've separated like half orc and like half elf, but like you haven't separated Tiefling and Aasimar. Feels a bit weird, especially with like the main thing I take away from Pathfinder is that there's loads of different races you can play. It's a bit weird that like this one they're just like now we're combining them. I'm not gonna make it to next round, am I? I don't feel like I am. Mechs, please. No. Mech, please. I mean, that's kind of a mech. Mech, please. No, mech. Technically a mech. We'll hope we survive. But yeah, it's a bit weird that they combined them. But I do have to have a look at that one to see if there's anything interesting I can use. There's a part of me, and I don't want to do it because it would feel bad. And I do really like my halfling character, but there's so many character ideas that are going in my head that I want to try as well. That I'm just like, you know, I'm just sitting there going like, oh, but I want to play this, or but I could play this, or I could play this, you know, it's too many ideas running in my head, and you can only play one of them. I have it the same in D&D. It's why I sort of put a hard rule on myself that I have to continue playing the character I'm playing now. Unless there's something really big. Blimmin' hell, that still scares me every time. Thank you for the follow. It's Mesa Burner? I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I'm just trying to find words in it. But thank you for the follow. But yeah, like I'm just sitting there going like, oh, but I want to play this character, I want to play that character, and it's just... You can't play all of them. You can't play all of them, and you've got to stick with one and see its whole story through, unless you are really, really, really sick of the character. I haven't had that yet. I got close with a character recently, but it was just because I didn't particularly like the subclass. And I just looked at what it was getting later, and I was just like, I'm never really gonna like the subclass. I'm just playing this for the for the base class at this point. Okay, we lose. Right, it's hit the 2-hour mark, so I'm gonna call it a day. But I want to thank everybody who's followed. Michelle D'Souza 1, and it's Mesa Burner, and I want to thank Mute for being in the chat. It was really nice. I want to thank Cami the Kituni. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, for also coming into the chat and me having a nice chat with them. I will see you on Wednesday for some more Baldur's Gate, and Friday for some more Final Fantasy 14, and next week for whatever we're doing while chilling. But until I next see you, hope you have a great time. And if I don't see you until the end of the year, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Bye!